Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. Jeff Walker navigated the crowded spaceport with the ease of familiarity, his eyes occasionally scanning the throng of travelers. The hum of conversations in myriad languages blended with the announcements echoing through the vast terminals. As a senior engineer for the Earth Space Agency, Jeff had seen many species come and go, but today was different. As he approached a quieter wing of the port, his path was intercepted by a figure draped in a flowing, shimmering garment. It was Isla, a Tylari woman, her striking blue skin almost luminescent under the port's bright lights. Clutching the hand of a small child with similarly vibrant features, she stepped forward, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and apprehension. "Excuse me, sir," Isla said, her voice a soft contrast to the ambient bustle. "I need help. Please, could you spare a moment?" Jeff stopped, his expression one of mild surprise mixed with curiosity. "Of course. How can I assist you?" Isla glanced around nervously before responding. "I have heard that Earth is a place where one can seek refuge. My child and I are in need. I am asking, if you could take me as your concubine. My child and I have nowhere else to turn." The request took Jeff aback, his brow furrowing slightly as he processed her words. "I think there might be some confusion. You're asking for protection, right? Earth has laws, we can help you seek asylum officially. You don't need to become anyone's anything." Isla's relief was palpable, and she exhaled a shaky breath. "Yes, protection. I've been told many things about Earth, but it's hard to know what is true. Why don't we find a quieter place to talk? My name's Jeff, by the way." He extended his hand, a gesture of peace. Isla hesitated, then accepted, her grip tentative. "I am Isla, and this is Tari," she introduced the child, who peeked curiously at Jeff. They moved to a secluded corner of the terminal, where a small cafe offered a respite from the chaos. As they sat, Jeff ordered some drinks and turned his full attention to Isla. "Tell me everything. Why are you seeking refuge?" It was then Isla began to unravel her story. Her home planet, once peaceful, had become targeted by corporate entities that exploited its resources, disregarding the native populace. Escaping with her child seemed the only way to avoid the escalating pressure to conform or face dire consequences. As we spoke more, the gravity of her situation became clearer, Jeff mused, glancing at Tari, who was now sipping on a juice box with an innocent enthusiasm. "What are your immediate needs? Shelter, food, safety?" "All of those," Isla admitted, looking down at her hands folded in her lap. "I have nothing to offer in return, except my gratitude." "That's not necessary," Jeff replied firmly. "Let's focus on getting you two settled first. I have a friend, a lawyer, who specializes in interstellar asylum cases. We'll meet him tomorrow." "Thank you, Jeff," Isla said, a genuine smile breaking through her cautious exterior. "Your kindness is more than I hoped for." As they talked further, planning their next steps, Jeff realized this chance encounter might just redefine his own world as much as it would reshape Isla's. Their meeting, though sprung from desperation and uncertainty, sowed the seeds of a profound journey neither expected. After parting ways with Isla and her son Tari at the spaceport, Jeff made his way home, thoughts swirling. He lived alone in a spacious, modern house designed by himself, a refuge from his demanding job. As he entered, the automated system greeted him, lights flickering to life. Later that evening, while reviewing the blueprints for an upcoming project, Jeff's thoughts kept drifting back to Isla and Tari. He couldn't shake off the urge to help them more than just legally. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Hey, Mark, it's Jeff. I need a favor, could you come over? It's important." Mark, Jeff's longtime friend and neighbor, was quick to respond. "Sure thing, Jeff. Be there in 10. True to his word, Mark arrived shortly after. He was a big man, with a booming voice and a heart just as large. Jeff explained the situation over drinks in his living room. "So, you're saying she just approached you out of the blue?" Mark leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Exactly. And she seemed desperate, Mark. I couldn't just turn her away." Mark nodded, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "And you're thinking of letting them stay here?" Jeff sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I am. At least until we can sort out our asylum application. It's the right thing to do. I'll say this, Jeff, you've got a big heart. If you need help setting up a room or anything, count me in." The next day, Jeff and Mark set to work. They converted the office space into a small suite with its own bathroom. They assembled furniture, laid out bedding, and added some toys and books for Tari. By the time Isla and Tari arrived, Led by Jeff, the house had been transformed. Isla's eyes widened as she took in the sight of her new temporary home. Tari clutched her hand, his gaze bouncing around with childlike wonder. "This is for us?" Isla asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "All yours," Jeff replied with a warm smile. "I hope you'll be comfortable here." Isla walked through the space slowly, touching the soft linens and looking at the books on the shelves. "It's more than I could have imagined," she whispered. Tari, less reserved, darted around the room, picking up a toy rocket. "Look, Mama. A ship." Jeff laughed, watching him. "Got a little explorer on your hands, huh?" "Yes," Isla smiled, watching her son play. "He dreams of flying among the stars." Mark clapped Jeff on the back. "Well, you're doing a good thing here, buddy. Let us know what comes next." As the day turned into evening, Jeff showed Isla how various things in the house worked, from the kitchen appliances to the entertainment system. They sat down for dinner, a simple meal that Jeff had prepared. "Thank you for this," Isla said as they ate. "Not just the food, but everything." "It's no trouble," Jeff replied. "Tomorrow, we'll meet with my lawyer friend. He's one of the best in interstellar law. We'll get the ball rolling on your asylum claim." Isla nodded, her expression serious but hopeful. "I believe Tari and I are in good hands." After dinner, as Tari played with a puzzle, Isla and Jeff sat down with a map of the city. Jeff pointed out various amenities, parks, libraries, medical centers that might be useful for them. As the night grew deep, and Tari's eyelids drooped, Jeff saw them off to their room. "Good night, Isla, Tari. See you in the morning." "Good night, Jeff," Isla responded, her voice soft. "And thank you again." Jeff retired to his room, the house quiet except for the faint sound of interstellar vehicles humming outside. As he lay in bed, he realized the weight of what he had embarked on. It was not just about providing shelter but about making a difference, however small, in the lives of two beings from another world. A week had passed since Isla and Tari moved into Jeff's home. The adjustment was smoother than any of them had anticipated, with daily routines quickly established. This morning, like every other, began with breakfast. Isla had insisted on learning to cook some human dishes, and Jeff was all too eager to teach her. As they stood side by side in the kitchen, Isla carefully flipped a pancake under Jeff's watchful eye. "Like this?" she asked, a tentative smile playing on her lips. "Perfect," Jeff encouraged, his approval evident. "You're a quick learner, Isla." Tari, seated at the table, clapped his hands, clearly delighted. "Mama makes the best cakes." Jeff laughed, setting the table. "She sure does, buddy." As they ate, Jeff broached a new topic. "I was thinking, Isla, it might be good for you to meet some more people, get to know the community. There's a local cultural exchange program downtown. It could be a great way for you to learn more about Earth and share about Tylari culture too." Isla considered it, her fork paused in midair. I would like that. I want to understand more about your world, Jeff." "Great," Jeff replied, pleased. "I'll set something up. How about tomorrow?" Isla nodded, her anxiety about the new environment visibly lessening with each passing day. Later that day, Jeff and Mark were in the garage, sorting through some old electronics that could be useful for Isla to communicate with her family back home, a project they had started together. "So, how's everything at the house? Isla and Tari settling in okay?" Mark asked, handing Jeff a soldering iron. "They're doing well. Starting to feel like family, almost," Jeff replied, focusing on the delicate wiring. Mark grinned. "Sounds like you're getting attached, buddy." Jeff shrugged, a slight smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe. They're good people. Just caught in a bad situation." With the communication device nearing completion, Jeff called Isla into the garage to explain how it worked. "This should help you send messages home without any intergalactic charges," Jeff explained, showing her the modified device. Isla's eyes widened in appreciation. "Jeff, this means so much to me. Thank you." "Let's test it out," Jeff suggested. Together, they sent a simple greeting toward Tylari space, waiting anxiously for a response. Moments later, a series of soft beeps signaled a reply. Isla listened intently to the message, a mix of relief and joy flooding her features. "It's from my sister. She says they are safe and miss me dearly." "That's great news," Jeff exclaimed, sharing in her relief. The evening brought another moment of cultural exchange as Isla shared a Tylari game with Jeff and Mark. The game involved strategy and Jeff found himself engrossed, laughing and joking with Mark about who was winning. As the game ended, Mark clapped Jeff on the back. "This was fun. We should make it a regular thing. I'd like that, Isla responded, her smile genuine and more relaxed than Jeff had seen before. As Mark left, Jeff and Isla stood in the doorway, watching the night sky. You've been a great help, Jeff. Not just with the shelter but helping me feel part of this world, Isla said softly. It's no trouble at all. I'm glad you're here, Isla. And Tari, Jeff added, thinking of the cheerful child who had brought unexpected laughter into his home. Isla turned to him, her expression earnest. I hope someday we can repay your kindness. Jeff shook his head slightly. Seeing you two safe, that's more than enough for me. As they retreated inside, the lights of the house casting a warm glow around them, it was clear that a true bond was forming, one that was based on mutual respect and the shared experience of navigating a new life together. Weeks had turned into months, and the bond between Jeff, Isla, and Tari had deepened into a comfortable routine, interspersed with moments of discovery and laughter. On a crisp Saturday morning, Jeff decided it was the perfect day for an outing. He wanted to show Isla and Tari one of his favorite spots outside the city, a peaceful lake surrounded by forests. As they packed the car with a picnic basket and fishing gear, Tari buzzed around excitedly, his voice filled with questions about fish and trees and everything in between. Isla, have you ever gone fishing? Jeff asked, securing the last of the supplies in the trunk. No, I have not, Isla replied, a hint of curiosity in her tone. Is it difficult? Jeff chuckled. Not really. It's more about patience than skill. I think you'll like it. The drive to the lake was filled with conversation about Earth's natural landscapes compared to Tylari's more urban environments. Upon arriving, they found a secluded spot near the water's edge. The lake, mirror-like and serene, reflected the clear blue sky. As they settled down, Jeff taught Isla how to bait a hook and cast a line. Tari watched, wide-eyed, as his line flew over the water and plopped down with a small splash. This is fun, Tari exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. They spent the morning fishing and enjoying the picnic. Isla managed to catch a fish, her face lighting up with pride. Jeff and Tari clapped, and the three of them laughed together, the sound mingling with the gentle lapping of the lake's waters. After lunch, as Tari played nearby, Jeff and Isla sat side by side on the blanket, watching the water. Isla, I've been meaning to ask, Jeff began, a thoughtful look on his face. How do you feel about Earth now, after being here a while? Isla turned to him, her gaze reflecting the calm of the lake. I feel safe, Jeff. More than that, I feel welcome. You have shown me a kindness that I did not expect to find. Jeff nodded, pleased. I'm glad to hear that. You know, I never anticipated how much having you and Tari here would change my life. It's been better. Much better. Isla smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. For us, too. The conversation paused as they both took in the peaceful scene. Then, almost hesitantly, Isla reached out her hand to Jeff. He looked at her hand, then up at her face, and gently took it in his. Their touch was a new, but comfortable bridge between them, conveying emotions that words could no longer capture fully. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the lake, Jeff spoke again, his voice low. Isla, But he was interrupted by Tari running up to them, a small frog cupped in his hands. Look what I found. The moment shifted as they turned their attention to Tari, laughing as the frog leapt from his hands back toward the water. As they packed up to leave, the warmth between Jeff and Isla was palpable, the simple touch lingering in their shared glances. The drive home was quiet, each lost in thoughts about the changing dynamics of their relationship. That night, after Tari was tucked into bed, Jeff and Isla found themselves in the living room, reluctant to end the day. Isla, Jeff finally broke the silence. About earlier, at the lake. I was going to say. I think my feelings for you are changing. Growing. Isla looked at him, her expression open, vulnerable. Mine as well, Jeff. I am scared, but also hopeful. Me too, Jeff admitted. We don't have to figure this all out now. But I want you to know, whatever this is, it's important to me. Isla nodded, her hand finding his again. To me as well. They sat together, hands clasped, the quiet of the house wrapping around them like a gentle embrace. In that moment, it was clear that their relationship had softly shifted from one of guardian and ward to something more profound and affectionate. One afternoon, as Jeff was sorting through the mail, he found a letter with an unfamiliar, intricate seal, an official document, it seemed, but unlike any he had seen before. Curiosity piqued, he opened it to find a summons addressed to Isla from what appeared to be a Tylari governmental authority. Isla, this came for you today, Jeff said, handing her the letter as she entered the kitchen where he was standing. The color drained from her face as she took it. "What is it? What does it say?" Jeff asked, noting her distress. "It's a summons. From the Tylari consulate," Isla explained, her voice trembling slightly. "They've found me, Jeff. They want me to return to Tyler to discuss my unauthorized departure." Jeff's brow furrowed in concern. "But you're seeking asylum. They can't just take you back." Isla sank into a chair, the letter fluttering from her hands to the table. "I don't know what powers they have here, Jeff. On Tyler, disobeying a summons is a serious offense. We need to talk to my lawyer friend, see what our options are," Jeff decided with resolve. He picked up the phone and dialed quickly, arranging an urgent meeting for the following day. The next morning, Jeff, Isla, and Tari met with Alan, the lawyer, in his office. The room was lined with books and smelled faintly of coffee. "Alan, thanks for seeing us on such short notice," Jeff began as they settled into chairs. "Of course, Jeff. What's going on?" Alan asked, turning his attention to the letter Isla handed him. After reviewing the document, Alan looked up, his expression serious. "This is a delicate situation. The Tylari consulate can apply pressure, but they can't force Isla to return without going through our legal system. We need to file for a formal asylum request immediately and get this in front of a judge." "What happens if they deny it?" Jeff asked, glancing worriedly at Isla. "It's a process, but we have a good case. Isla is clearly under threat if she returns," Alan reassured them. "Is there anything I can do?" Jeff asked, feeling helpless. "Actually, yes," Alan responded. "A character affidavit from you about Isla's situation, her character, and what you've observed could be very powerful. Also, any support from the community or other character witnesses would help strengthen the case." "We'll gather everything you need," Jeff promised, squeezing Isla's hand. Over the next few days, Jeff reached out to neighbors, colleagues, and friends in the community, explaining the situation and gathering statements of support for Isla and Tari. The community response was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing their admiration for Isla's courage and grace under pressure. Jeff also spent hours crafting his own statement, detailing the time Isla and Tari had spent with him, the bond they had formed, and the positive impact they had on his life. Meanwhile, Isla, though anxious, was touched by the outpouring of support. "I never expected this," she confessed to Jeff one evening as they reviewed the documents they had compiled. "People care, Isla," Jeff replied, offering a reassuring smile. "You're not just a visitor here, you're a part of the community now." The day of the hearing finally arrived. Jeff, Isla, and Alan presented their case before the judge, who listened attentively to the testimonies and reviewed the community support letters. After what felt like an eternity, the judge finally spoke. "After reviewing the case and the support presented, I am inclined to grant Ms. Isla and her son temporary protected status while their asylum case is processed." Relief washed over Isla, her relief mirrored in Jeff's face. "Thank you, Alan." "Thank you, Jeff," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. As they left the courthouse, Jeff felt a profound sense of gratitude and relief. He had helped protect Isla and Tari, but the process had brought them even closer together, reinforcing their bond and commitment to face whatever challenges might come next together. In the weeks following the court's decision to grant Isla and Tari temporary protected status, life took on a new normalcy. Yet, the shadow of the Tylari consulate's demands loomed over their newfound peace. Jeff was keenly aware that the temporary status was just that, temporary. One evening, while Tari played in the living room, Jeff and Isla sat down with Alan in Jeff's home office to strategize their next steps. Alan opened his laptop, displaying a document. "We've bought some time, but the consulate is persistent. They've filed a petition claiming that Isla's asylum claim is invalid based on Tylari law. We need to counter this effectively." Jeff leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. "How do we fight this? There has to be something we can do." Alan nodded, tapping a key to bring up another document. "There is. We can argue that the Tylari petition violates international asylum protocols, which prioritize the well-being and safety of the individual over the originating country's demands." Isla looked between them, her expression tense. "What are the chances they'll accept our argument?" "It's strong," Alan reassured her. "Especially with the community support and the evidence we presented last time. Plus, Jeff, your testimony as a local citizen and Isla's primary supporter holds a lot of weight." "I'll do whatever it takes," Jeff affirmed, his determination clear. Over the next few days, Jeff took it upon himself to gather more support. He met with local community leaders and educators, explaining the situation and seeking their endorsement. Many were moved by Isla's story and agreed to write letters emphasizing the importance of upholding her asylum status. Meanwhile, Alan prepared the legal documents, meticulously citing precedents and international laws that could bolster their case. Jeff and Isla often sat with him late into the evening, reviewing every argument, every citation. "We're building a fortress of facts," Alan joked one night, trying to lighten the mood. "They'll have a hard time breaking this down." Jeff smiled, but his eyes were tired. "Let's hope it's enough." The day before the hearing, Jeff organized a small meeting at his house with some of the key supporters they had gathered. Among them was a local professor of international law, Dr. Benson, who had taken a particular interest in the case. "As far as international law is concerned, Isla's right to seek asylum should be paramount," Dr. Benson explained as they sat around Jeff's dining table. "The arguments Alan has prepared are solid. I've seen them work in similar cases." Encouraged by Dr. Benson's words, the group felt a renewed sense of purpose. That evening, they all shared dinner, Isla cooking a Thai Lari dish as a thank you for their efforts. "Your support means the world to us," Isla told the group, her voice steady but emotional. "Thank you." The following day at the courthouse, the atmosphere was tense. As the proceedings began, Alan presented their case with precision and passion, laying out each argument backed by the community's support and the legal frameworks that protected asylum seekers. Jeff watched, his heart pounding with each passing moment. When it was his turn to speak, he stood, his voice clear and resolute. "Isla and Tari have become part of our community, contributing positively and enriching our lives. Denying her claim would not only harm her but all of us who value justice and human dignity." The judge listened intently, nodding occasionally as she took notes. After both sides had presented, she adjourned the court to deliberate. Hours later, she returned with a decision. "After careful consideration, I find in favor of Ms. Isla. Her asylum status will be upheld, and any petitions for her return under Thai Lari demands are hereby denied under the protection of international asylum law." Relief swept through the courtroom, followed by subdued cheers from the supporters. Jeff reached for Isla's hand, squeezing it tightly. "We did it," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "We did it together," Isla responded, her eyes glistening with tears of relief. As they walked out of the courthouse, Jeff felt a profound sense of accomplishment not just in the legal victory, but in the unity and compassion their community had shown. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them together, with the same courage and solidarity they had shown today. Following the successful resolution of the legal challenges, Jeff, Isla, and Tari embraced a lighter, more hopeful period. With Isla's status now secured, they focused on building a more permanent and joyful life together. One bright Saturday morning, Jeff and Isla sat down at the kitchen table with cups of coffee, planning something very special. "So, we've been talking about making things official for a while now," Jeff began, his voice a mix of nerves and excitement. "I think it's time we consider actually doing it, having a ceremony." Isla smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft light filtering through the window. "A ceremony would be beautiful. To celebrate not just my asylum, but us, our family." Jeff nodded. "Exactly. I was thinking something small but meaningful. We could blend traditions from Earth and Tyler. What do you think?" "I love that idea," Isla said. "Thai Lari ceremonies involve a lot of music and color. It's very vibrant. What about Earth traditions?" "Well, we usually have a gathering with friends and family, exchange vows, and celebrate with food and dancing afterwards," Jeff explained. "We could incorporate your traditions into every step." Excited by the plan, they decided to involve Mark, who had been a steadfast supporter throughout their journey. Later that day, Jeff called him over to discuss their ideas. Mark arrived with his usual buoyant energy. "Hey, you two. Jeff mentioned you've got some big plans brewing. How can I help?" Jeff shared their vision for the ceremony, and Mark was instantly on board. "I can help with the arrangements. We'll need a good spot, some decorations, and catering that includes Thai Lari dishes. I can prepare some traditional foods," Isla offered. "And maybe teach you, Mark? That'd be great. A cooking session with Isla? Count me in," Mark chuckled. Over the next few weeks, they were busy with preparations. Jeff took care of the venue, a lovely local garden that bloomed with flowers perfect for their spring ceremony. Isla and Mark worked on the menu, experimenting with dishes that fused Earth and Thai Lari flavors. One afternoon, as they were testing recipes in the kitchen, Tari, now more conversant in his new life's rhythms, tugged at Jeff's sleeve. "Can I help too? I want to make something for the party." Jeff smiled down at him. "Of course, buddy. How about you help us make some decorations?" We need lots of colorful things to hang around the garden." Tari beamed, pleased to be included. They spent that afternoon crafting garlands and other decorative items, filling the house with laughter and the scent of painted paper. As the day of the ceremony approached, they invited a small group of friends and community members who had supported them. Alan, who had been instrumental in Isla's case, was also eager to attend. On the day of the ceremony, the garden was a riot of colors, with flowers and handmade decorations setting a festive scene. Isla wore a traditional Tylari dress, vibrant and elegant, while Jeff opted for a simple but smart suit. The ceremony was a beautiful blend of their cultures. Isla explained the significance of each Tylari tradition they incorporated, while Jeff shared how each earth custom was important to him. They exchanged vows that promised continued support, love, and shared dreams. After the vows, the air filled with music, a mixture of earth tunes and Tylari melodies, creating a unique harmony that reflected their union. As the celebration continued under the soft glow of the evening lights, Mark raised a toast. "To Jeff and Isla, may your days be as bright and colorful as today, filled with love and understanding." The crowd cheered, and Tari, running around with new friends, looked as happy as Jeff had ever seen him. Later, as the guests started to leave, Jeff and Isla walked hand in hand through the garden, reflecting on their journey. "We've come so far," Isla murmured. "And we'll go even further," Jeff replied, squeezing her hand. Together. Their path had been unconventional, but as they stood watching the stars emerge above, they knew they had found something rare and beautiful, a promise of tomorrow, built together, in love and unity. The days following the ceremony were serene and filled with a gentle sense of fulfillment. Jeff and Isla, now officially a family, took to exploring more of life's simple pleasures together. One clear afternoon, Jeff suggested an idea that had been forming in his mind. "Isla, Tari, how about we take a trip to the mountains? I know a place where the sky feels close enough to touch. It might be nice for us to get away for a bit." Isla looked intrigued. "The mountains? I've read about Earth's mountain ranges. They're supposed to be magnificent." "There are," Jeff confirmed with a nod. "It's peaceful, and I think Tari would love it up there, too. What do you say, buddy?" Tari, who had been quietly drawing, looked up with excitement. "Can we see the stars better from up high, Dad?" "You bet," Jeff smiled, touched by the dad. "The stars will be clearer than you've ever seen them." The next day, they packed up their car with essentials and a telescope Jeff had kept in storage, unused for years. The drive was filled with anticipation and sing-alongs to Tari's favorite songs, which Isla had surprisingly grown fond of as well. They reached the cabin by late afternoon. It was rustic, nestled against a backdrop of towering pines and jagged peaks. After unloading, they settled in, with Isla taking photographs of the breathtaking views and Tari helping Jeff set up the telescope. As dusk fell, they gathered outside, wrapped in warm clothes. Jeff adjusted the telescope, aiming it towards the emerging stars. "Here, Tari, have the first look," he offered, stepping aside. Tari peered through the telescope, his gasp audible. "Wow! There are so many stars." Isla took her turn, her face lighting up with wonder. "It's beautiful, Jeff. Tyler has nothing on this." Jeff watched them, his heart full. "I'm glad we did this. It's these moments that make everything worthwhile." They spent the evening stargazing, Jeff pointing out constellations and telling stories of the ancient myths associated with them. Isla shared Tylari tales of the cosmos, which fascinated both Jeff and Tari. Later, sitting by the fireplace inside the cabin, Tari between them, Isla looked at Jeff. "Do you think we'll ever visit Tyler? Now that things are stable here?" Jeff considered her question. "I think so, yes. When Tari's a bit older, maybe. It'd be good for him to see all parts of his heritage. And for us, too," Isla added softly. "To see your world through your eyes." Tari, sleepy from the day's adventures, leaned against Isla. "Can we see more stars tomorrow?" "As many as you want," Jeff promised, tucking a blanket around him. The next morning, they hiked a nearby trail, the air crisp and invigorating. Jeff taught Tari how to use a compass, while Isla documented the flora and fauna with her camera. On their last evening, they sat outside again, a small fire crackling before them. Jeff pulled out a small, wrapped box and handed it to Isla. "I got you something," he said, a bit shy. Isla unwrapped it to find a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a pendant shaped like both Earth and Tyler intertwined. "Jeff, it's beautiful. Thank you. It symbolizes us, our worlds together," Jeff explained. Isla leaned over and kissed him gently. "Perfect." As they packed up to leave the next day, The horizon stretched wide and promising before them. They were no longer just survivors of circumstance but architects of a shared future, weaving together the threads of two distinct worlds. Driving back, Jeff thought about the horizon, the literal and metaphorical line where the earth meets the sky, always just out of reach but endlessly beckoning. Like their future, it was vast with possibilities, an ever-present reminder of the journey ahead and the journeys behind. "Look, another shooting star," Tari shouted from the backseat. "Make a wish," Jeff said, glancing at Isla, who smiled back at him. In the quiet that followed, filled only by the road's steady hum, each lost in their thoughts but united in their dreams, they drove towards home, a place defined not just by walls and a roof, but by the life and love shared within and beyond them.